Well, good morning, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital. This is the weekly check-in for Creativity 202. It is lesson 5, March 26th, 2023. Got the gang on board, just back from a 1,000-mile drive from Pittsburgh, where we spent all week talking about creativity, artificial intelligence, true storytelling, with a academic conference where I work, and I got a ton of good ideas. So we're going to give the AI note taker a try here and see if that's going to work. Not sure, but we'll see. And that's my check-in. All is well. We had a good trip coming back. Tom, how are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good. Busy week. I had Friday off, so that was nice. Um, Still kind of cloudy and overcast, but I like to see the sun once in a while, and everything else is good. So I hope.
Good deal. Damien, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. I've been a single guy for the last 48 hours. My wife is out of town, and I found out that she's going to be coming home late tonight. So everything is good, and we had a good time on Thursday night
Yeah.
with you and your family,
Yeah.
and it was awesome. So
Yeah, that was the highlight of the whole journey for me. You know, we braved a monsoon to drive down there, and got to meet my brother, or my first cousin, who I'd never met before, and Damien and his wife were kind enough to join us, and we just had a blast. Didn't want it to end. The food was so good. Good
yeah,
Lord.
it was. It was.
Oh,
That steak was awesome. I
yeah.
mean, and we had no. That was the highlight of the week too. You know, my wife was kind of afraid we were going to talk business, but we didn't really talk business.
Uh,
We talked about a multitude of different
yeah.
things.
Everything except trading. That was
Yeah.
good times.
Well, we did a little. I mean, Bill and I talked a little bit about trading, but it was a minor thing. But it was good seeing
Yeah.
the good gang, and yeah,
Yeah.
we
Good
had a good
times.
time.
Chun Long.
I hope.
Chun Long. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Ken, everybody. Now, I look at Damon's background picture. That's something we used to have every morning in the autumn, fall time. I used to exercise a lot in the morning several years ago. I miss that now because I'm not getting lazy, just go out less. I should go out a lot more than right now. Oh.
And good morning, Ernie. How are you?
Good morning. Uh, Everything is good here. I'm looking forward to a visit. My wife and I are looking forward to a visit from our um, nieces and nephews. We have a grandniece and nephew that they're going to come over this afternoon. So we're preparing for that and looking forward to seeing them. They're always a great time. And by the time they leave, I'll be ready for a nap. But it's going to be a good day. Aho.
Well, awesome. I'm going to try the little bookmark feature now to start automatically generating timestamps. We'll see if that works. Here we go. This will take us into the sacred space. Chun Long.
Get started and quick. So my word of last week is self-coaching. I think its intent is to learn more about trading by self-coaching. That's it, because I didn't do much last week. about trading, either learning or simulation, because I did a lot of data process for my tax return. In the year 22, I used a trading boat to trade a cryptocurrency. Didn't make money, but generate a lot of trade, and probably more than 10,000 trade. Then the software import the data, separately. The trade is trade and the fee is another trade. So it's give me a lot of work to do to check all those stuff. So it's consuming my whole week to do that. Also, last year is a losing year, so get me think a lot. Simply accept that result is a big thing. That's also why I joined here to learn cans trading, because the strategy I use in the 22 year, if it doesn't work in that market environment, it's not the strategy, it's the market type is not work. The strategy I trade is basically swing trading on daily charts. It's a momentum breakout. There's a breakout, or take a trade, work couple of days, but the stop is way below the entry point. At that time, I didn't know to move my, I didn't know the concept of no lose plus dinner for two. If I knew that at that time, probably I can lose much less than what I did. So the week to do the tax return, realize what I did wrong, what I did right, and come back to the strategy I'm learning. I realize, the intraday have a huge advantage, huge edge, especially in the current market type, right? We have a swing low, getting swing high, if I take an entry, then the swing back, I lost money. I realized that the intraday trading, even 30 minutes chart swing trading or hourly chart swing trading will be much better than the strategy I learned before. That's the week. Last week, today's lesson, I read it, the story twice, think about it, especially the trader's question is really useful for me to plan next week and next year. But I didn't get a lot of answer to that. Just reflect on that. All the good exercise, but haven't done much about that yet. Next week, I will restart my kata challenge. I will switch to SSC and kata 2. I will use paper trading. So previously I used the simulator. Now I will switch to the platform I use to trade paper trading. That's my plan for next week. I hope.
Tom, Tom.
I missed last week, but I think my word from a couple weeks ago was like intention. and it was to get my intention straight and to align myself with my purpose and my plan. Today's lesson was about Top Gun, and I mean, I went over it before, but this morning I was up. I kind of decided that I was going to look up Dan. I think it's Peterson. Well, I looked him up on. I did a Google search, and actually I was surprised that it came up with videos of interviews with him. And I mean, it was a nice. There's like a number of different videos. I watched one, and he was talking about how the Top Gun was formed or how it came about. He was talking about a little bit of war in Vietnam, and some of the problems they were having. I think one of them, like the Phantom jets, they didn't actually have gunning on them, like machine guns. So like when somebody would be taken down and they'd see them on the ground and enemy troops coming around, they really didn't have guns to protect the pilot on the ground. So it was like kind of you could see the frustration in his the way he saw what was going on. And I mean, a lot of it was from political correctness and things at the time. And yeah, the safety, it was all in the article in our lesson. A few of the things that stuck was like he talked about this. It was called the All Report that an admiral wrote, and it was that the before Top Gun, there was a 2-to-1 win ratio, and then after Top Gun, it was like went up. I know it says 500%, but in the article, but then to put it in a, it was like it became 24-to-1, which is like a win ratio. So I mean, it was like unbelievable change. And some of the things that stuck in my mind was in as we read the article was like rather than braving rules out of timid self-preservation, the old mindset was to cautiously avoid death in the training, and the new mindset was aggressively embrace death in training. It opened up their minds to everything that could go sideways when the unexpected happened. It was they were psychologically prepared to adapt. A couple other things I think from the video that stuck to me was surrender, empty, nothing. Bodies in motion tend to stay in motion. Bodies at rest tend to stay at rest. Purpose, action, artifact. Fat, dumb, and happy. And when you're fat, dumb, and happy and sitting there, you're probably a body not in motion, which is a problem. Which won't advance you. So I went on to the trader exercises. Well, I think one of the other things, and one thing that came to mind when I was listening to Top Gun and then thinking about the RLCO network, I'm picturing the RLCO network as a fighter pilot, and you know, you get the target in sight and it's making its move and you're tracking the target, and when it gets to the certain points, I mean, you could take the target out, you know, if it's going to make an evasion move, like go down, a sharp move down. If it goes to an extreme move, you take your target. You know, I was picturing it as, you know, when you're framing, you're on it, making move down. Well, you follow that target. That's a strike. You get in, you follow it into the target area, and then you strike it and take a win. So I used some type of visualization like that to think about the system and how to use it. Now, and one of the things, yeah, I think it said, think about my heroes. I don't have it in front of me. I still take bad notes, but a couple of the heroes. Well, one of mine was always Bruce Lee. Um, I mean, he was an innovator in the martial arts, and I think his. I used to watch his show, um, The Green Hornet. I thought that was great. I probably still have videotapes of the old things, old shows. But yeah, his innovation into martial arts and use weight training and boxing, and it's changed it from a stationary fight into a movement-oriented self-defense system, and created his own system. And I think he was a big-time innovator. Um, let's see. Another one of my, I could say, heroes, well, or innovator. I always thought in the music area it was a Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, I listened to his music, and I mean, he did remakes of some Hendrix songs that were like, I think it was Butterfly, that were really unbelievable. I mean, he was a fantastic guitarist. I mean, it's unfortunate some of my heroes all died at young ages, but I mean, it was a shame. I really felt yeah, the way things turned out, but I mean, their music lives on and their legend lives on. Um, Now, one of the big innovations I want to say that made an impact on me. One of the big things that in trading was the 1 hour risk, and 1% of your trading account could be 1 hour. And after the Super Trader One program, I started trading, and I guess I was a little less fearful. I was almost fearless. I decided that, okay, I'll go into some trades, and my 1 hour is going to be 1%, and I'll take a lot of trades. And I was using, I guess some people would say it was kind of like, well, I look at it like this. I was going to take some option trades. I was tracking the market, and I decided that I won't risk more than 1 hour, but 1 hour would be, hey, if I lose it, I lose it. If I gain, I gain. And I made some really good, I had some pretty good results, really good results. I mean, some of my results were like 10 hour, and compared to my risk. And that was early. That was like in the fall of 2019, before the COVID hit. And I mean, into March, I was still trading well, but I stopped trading after that. But I relate this to I started in with Dan Peterson's story, because he mentioned one of the things that he saw as a potential problem with the military was the political environment. They were doing this political correctness things, and his thing was like, it was, tell us to go win, and don't put all these restraints on us. Like, you can't fire under these conditions, you can't do this, you can't do that. And he saw that as a big problem. So I guess I don't know if that effect happened to me during the COVID and the crash and the things, or it was just the whole mental anxiety of the situation at the time. But I pretty much just quit trading. And now getting back into it and looking back in hindsight, I think sometimes being so worried about the rules and if I'm doing this right and the correctness of what I'm doing, I'm not just going, look, this is what it is, take the 1 hour and go. And it's held me back a little bit. Well, not a little bit, for a while. So I'm getting back to the mindset, well, this is what you did, this was successful, and go back to what get back in motion, and not saying don't. I mean, you learn from your past, and you acknowledge the past and the failures, but you also accentuate the good things that happened. And so rather than look on the negative, I'll look on the positive. I'll learn from the negative. So in the trader's exercise, it talks about how do you decide when it's time to make bold moves. Well, I wrote pretty basic answers like imminent failure, like you find future opportunity and necessity. And so you could decide which one you want to do. You could look at your future opportunity, and if fear holds you back, well, then you're not going to make a move toward the opportunity. But if you wait till imminent failure, then there's no choice but you got to do something. And I don't know if that would be called a bold move, because like you're going to do something or you're just going to fail. And necessity is the same situation. You got to do something if you're put in a situation where you have to make a choice. So you could decide on your own situation, and rather than put in those extreme cases, you need to be objective with yourself and really make bold moves when you have an opportunity. When is it time to dig in and continue to grind for small advantages? Well, in trade, it seems like if I apply it to trading when there's no direction, I mean, do I dig in and do I just stay there? It seems like maybe I'm doing that now with keeping a job until I'm sure of my opportunity. I want to jump on it. Or in a critical situation, when things don't present themselves and you're unsure of which way to move. I mean, you gotta be psychologically aware of what you want to do, and put it in purposeful action. So then when you're able to do that, then I guess you should make a move, and you shouldn't grind it out. Or if times are tough, then I guess you gotta grind it out until you figure out how you want to approach it. So frame it out and look for your advantage, just like in your trade framing. How do you use market conditions to shape your strategy? Well, I look at longer term, and a lot of times I'm framing on a daily basis. So, but I'm aware of my weekly frames. Or if the market's bear, like right now with the financial crisis, situations like that. But I still frame daily and see what's available daily to be aware of what I could take advantage of at the day, and be cautious of the future challenges that might come in. Like I think there was a Fed meeting, so this week it was like just be aware the Fed's going on at like in the afternoon. I think it was on Wednesday, but at the same time, in the morning I was still trading. How much time is spent on developing new ideas and areas compared with refining techniques? I'd say for me it's less than 20% right now, because I'm really concentrating on refining my techniques and daily processes. What is your strategy for adding risk to systems in order to see how they play out in practice? I don't really practice too much anymore, and I have the 1 hour risk. If I hit 1 hour, to me that's the max. But I try to cut my losses short, and I want to let my profits run. The trick to me is letting the profits run. I got to find an equilibrium where I could allow some of the gain to be given back, and at the same time not cut those losses short and let it run more. Because I want to make winners. I'll cut the losers which is kind of reverse of what psychology tells you to do, but that's what I have to do. What is the mix of capital between exploration? All right, that one we did. What is your go-to strategy right now? How long has it been viable, and is it improving, stable, or beginning to decay? My go-to strategy is daily trend, and I'm day trading now. How long has it been viable? Well, actually, before I quit trading, that's what I was doing. But well, I don't want to say quit. Before I stepped out of trailing, before my breakdown, I'll call it that. Yeah, that's what it was. It was like a daily trend. And if the daily matched up with the weekly, I'd swing it. I'd risk 1 hour, and I didn't have a problem if I lost the 1 hour. Then I just lost the 1 hour. But that has been my go-to strategy, and that's what's worked and kept me in the markets as long as I've been here. It's still stable, and it's a viable trading idea. When you build it, I don't really look for a lot of new ideas, but yeah, if I do, I think that RLCL fits right in the same framework. So it's the nearest neighbor to the type of trend trading I like. So I have looked at options to increase the opportunities as long as the options fit in the direction I'm trading. I find that is kind of a new idea, and which would be the 1 hour risk that I'm talking about. If I find an option, I won't risk more than 1 hour on it, and keep it in my network. But overall, it seems like when I go out on walks and after reviewing lessons in the morning, a lot of these things just flow through my mind. And I think about what I'm going to say, and sometimes it's like I get on the mic here and it's like kind of go blank for a minute. But as I reflect on it, a lot of insight comes from the lessons and the creativity. So it's really rebuilding my trading, and I appreciate all the help. Aho.
Ernie.
I came prepared because I was going to keep it short, but I'm gonna go off track here a little bit, because one of the things I did this morning is I looked at the title of the lesson. I don't know why I don't do that, but I saw creativity is your gift to others. I've been taking this thing to taking the course so that I can find out what creativity can do for me. I wasn't planning on having a gift for other people, so I thought, well, that was very interesting. There's an implication that with creativity, you now have an obligation. So I found that kind of interesting, and why didn't I see that before? And I'm taking this for the second time, and I missed that. But there's a lot of things that I've been missing. For the past couple of weeks, I've really been agonizing over the questions, the trader questions. And I really get a lot from the answers that everyone has provided. It's a real learning experience for me to listen to the responses, and I was looking forward to the I guess it was part D, the other group, and how they were going to respond to the questions. And it seemed like that session was really casual. and I was really interested to hear what Luke was going to do. Been fascinated by what he's been doing, and because he was answering every single question. I mean, it wasn't an answer; it was really a thoughtful, going into it, much like what Thomas talked about and what he's been doing, and all of you have been doing. And I'm not really happy with my responses to the questions a lot of times. A lot of times I really don't have an answer, and I feel bad about that. But I think that's really okay. And so I've been going through those questions and saying, can I answer this? And an honest answer as well. That's important. And so I'm finding that one of the things that's happening is that my answers change. I had an answer probably the first time that we went through this, but now I'm having different answers, or I'm coming up with a different response. So I'm collecting the questions and I'm putting them in a file folder. It's like questions that I can't answer right now. But I'm going to continue collecting them because I think with more knowledge and experience, I'll have an answer. And probably I may even change my answer because as time goes on, I'm learning more and I'm able to respond better. So, I think that sometimes there's really not a right or wrong answer. Oh, I'm sure there isn't a right or wrong answer to the question. But one of the things that really fascinates me is that I'm finding too that what I feel should be the answer, it is the answer, but it may not be the answer tomorrow. 2 + 2 equals 4, but tomorrow, I don't know. I might find out something that may change my mind. And that's been fun. So I'm enjoying that. So I'm going to collect my questions and keep on going. And then I thank everybody that's part of this course for the answers that you guys come up with, because it's really it's fascinating and I'm getting a lot from it. So now, lesson 5 told us about the Navy pilots who were taught to distrust their equipment and treat failure as routine. And I have a really close friend who's an attorney, and he was talking about his job, and one of the things, certain things that he believes, I guess, are basic tenets of how he operates as an attorney. So he told me once that everyone lies. I thought that was rather cynical, but I understand. He's working with facts and with words, so he can't be surprised when the credibility of those facts or words are questionable. And I'm an accountant, and so I've seen my share of creative accounting, and forensic accounting courses are becoming more popular. So I understand equipment and people can fail, and that failure can be routine. But we take the initiative to use creativity to solve problems, right the wrongs, and make the world better. And that becomes our gift to others, and especially to the next generation. So in exercise 2, this was my favorite part, it asks us to identify a hero who had the courage to do something innovative. I think the U.S. Army itself became creative and knowing who and what their assets were. And I guess I appreciate the initiative of what's going on today. On April 27th, Fort Lee in Virginia is going to be renamed Fort Gregg Adams after Lieutenant General Arthur Gregg and Lieutenant Colonel Charity Adams. And the gentleman who is assisting with writing the speech for the dedication ceremony is part of a true storytelling group that I get to be a part of. And I'm very grateful to be part of that. And then he shared the story of Charity Adams and some of the challenges that she met in the war. And those challenges weren't from the enemy. And she took command of a battalion known as the 688. and their mission was to process letters and packages by the millions in Birmingham, England. And they were heavily backlogged, and Adams was given 6 months to get it back in order. And her unit operated 7 days a week, 24 hours a day in a segregated facility with little heat. And a general officer decided to visit the operation and then made an unrealistic demand to stage an all-members parade during his visit. And in doing so, would disrupt mail operations. She refused. The officer threatened to replace her with a white lieutenant. Her response? Over my dead body, sir. He eventually backed down and later even told her that she earned his respect. In that 6-month deadline that she had, she did it in 3 months. An amazing American and my latest hero. So it's really amazing. I think and I appreciate the fact that renaming of Fort Lee, Robert E. Lee was a childhood hero of mine, but I see the value and I see the need to do what's being done. I didn't see it at first, but I really do now. We have a limited number of opportunities to recognize the people that make our country what it is. And I think this is a wonderful thing that's being done. And this lesson really brought that to my attention, I think, and also the True Storytelling Group. There's just opportunities for that for me to recognize how valuable that is, and what a great way to learn true storytelling is, and it's a great thing. So that's my story for this week. Aho.
I guess it's my turn. I'm in the hot seat.
Yes, sir.
No, a month and a half ago, when I contacted Ken about the course, I figured that I was going to put myself in a good environment to be able to spur up my creativity. Fast forward to today, I'm realizing that there are around me a lot of people, including mostly in my family, that are creative, and I have to learn from them to become creative myself. The first one that came to my mind in terms of being a hero to me is I have a great-great-great-great-grandfather, well, I should say uncle, he's not a grandfather, who served under Napoleon I and who created some equipment during the siege of Toulon. And that equipment allowed Napoleon to beat the British, and history, we're not going to go into the history of Napoleon, but that's not the point. Fast forward to the beginning of the last century, my dad's grandfather was also a hero to me. He went to Madagascar laid down the railway in horrible condition. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish the project because he died of disease a few months after he got there. But fast forward to today, there is a town named Brickaville in Madagascar. So he is a hero. Closer to me, my grandfather, my mom's dad, is another hero during World War I, I'm sorry. He fought against the Ottoman Empire. He was in charge of artillery. He improved the French guns so that they can aim more precisely. And from my understanding, his research at the time is still being implemented today by armies all over the world. A closer hero is my grandfather. When World War II hit and the French army was basically disbanded, he was out of a job because the Germans had taken over Paris. His boss, prior to the war, was a Jew. He became part of the French resistance, and he asked my grandfather to move Jewish people from France to what became Israel. I knew about that fact a month before my dad passed away. It was a kept secret in the family, so he's another hero. Sometimes you don't have to look very far to find them. One of the things that has helped me in my life and has helped improve my life is me learning the English language, mastering it. I was fortunate enough to learn it at a young age when we were living in British Columbia between 1967 and 70. And because of that, I'm among you today. When I came to the age of 21, I asked my father if I could finish my education in the US. He gave me a blank check for 1 year. And so I moved to a small town near Chicago called Elmhurst. I went to Elmhurst College for 1 year, and I had to go back home to serve in the military. Then I came back here, finished my education, got married, and now I'm a trader. Wow, what a concept. To go to the trading exercise, it took me a lot of soul searching to be able to understand the questions that Ken is asking. So I'm going to answer each one of them to the best of my ability. And I'm sure that with time, I'm going to be like Ernie. I'll go back to those questions and I'll be able to find better answers or find different answers because I'm going to be evolving as an individual. So the first question is, how do you decide when it's time to make bold moves? Now, at the present time, I make bold moves on the rush without thinking. What I need to do is write down the ideas that I want to implement and create a plan so that I can have a better outcome. When it's time just to dig in and continue to grind for small advantages. From my experience in trading, digging in without a concrete plan will bring huge losses. Been there, done that. I need to learn to follow my trading plan and adapt it to the daily fluctuation of the market. What I mean by that is not to be biased. How do you use market conditions to shape your strategy to gain advantage? Every morning I look at the VIX and the volatility of the SPY because I traded SPY options. How much time is spent in developing new ideas in new areas as compared to refining techniques in well-established patterns? At this time in my trading career, I most often try to reinvent the wheel. From this day forward, I will follow the Kata challenge and learn one pattern at a time. I will make 100 trades on that pattern only and analyze the result after that time and make the necessary adjustment to become more profitable. What is the strategy for adding risk to systems in order to see how they play out in practice? I am not sure I understand the question. Same thing for the next question, Ken. Maybe you can clarify what you meant by that at the end. What is your goal strategy right now? How long has it been viable? Is it improving, stable, or beginning to decay? Right now, my strategy is to get better every day. I am improving. My main area to work on is risk management. When you begin to look at new ideas, do you start with the nearest neighbor looking to improve an area where you already have expertise, or do you move out to fresh market strategy time trade? I am looking to improve in areas where I have already expertise at this point. I hope.
So I'm thinking about the clarification of roles. Clarification of roles. To what extent are you a hunter or a farmer in how you're going after R to bring back to feed the tribe? If you're focusing on animals of protein, are you a trapper or are you a rancher? In other words, are you raising cattle systematically and being a good steward of the herd and doing life cycle management with the things you're expert in, with full respect for the animal that you care for, part of the cycle of nature? Or are you a trapper going out to, you know, capture wild animals where they typically run to bring back to feed the tribe? If you're working with vegetables, are you gathering nuts and berries in a little basket, going to where they are, trying to find them, then pick them and then bring them back? Or are you farming? And if you're farming, are you farming in a little vegetable garden, or are you trying to perform agriculture at scale and size? So it seems to me that on any given trade, you're trying to do one of those things, or in a system, you're trying to do one of those things. And each one of those points of view or perspectives has its own techniques and skills and habits and attitudes. So you should be clear on the role that you're playing. With respect to adding risk, I would like you to think of it as dollars at risk, and as a percentage of capital, and not in terms of widening or narrowing the dollars per share that represents 1R. In other words, what I mean is, if you're in a critical state at a doji near a critical turning point or a typical turning point, and you're playing the SSC, your goal is to minimize the size of the 1R, dollars per share, in order to prove the hypothesis wrong. Like, if I can get that critical state MMRB down to $1 and I can risk $400, then I can buy 400 shares. The weight that it's carrying, the risk to the portfolio, is the $400. The dollars at risk is the risk, not the dollars per share, which triggers the signal that tells me that that hypothesis is not working. As long as that 1R is equal to 1R, then you have simply calibrated the experiment in terms of go and no-go. But the risk that it's carrying is the dollars that you've put onto that system. How strong is the axle? How strong is the frame that protects you, that you can manage and handle professionally? You're pulling a wagon full of dollars at risk through the territory of the trade. And you've got to manage that wagon up and down hills, over bridges, around corners. And can you manage that amount of weight in that trade? Or is that too much? So how much load are you putting on? That's the risk. When in the course of managing a wagon, or the size of the truck that I'm driving, Tom, what's the size of the trailer that I can back professionally between two other trailers up to the loading dock, or navigate through traffic? Can I take the risk of driving a bus through Chicago rush hour and downtown with a load of people at 70 miles an hour with 2 inches of clearance on either side and 5 feet of following distance? Because if I leave it, give them more than 5 feet, somebody's going to weasel in. So the risk I'm carrying is the number of people in the bus, the dollars at risk on the trade. So be clear on the difference between the amount of adverse price action that signals that the hypothesis is over. That's not risk. That's just a signal. The risk is how much load you put on it. That's the difference between paper trading and skin in the game. Unless for you, being right in paper trading carries the same emotional weight as losing money. To me, it's easier if I want to represent a realistic trading result and I'm concerned about losing money only, then I got to put money into the prototype or the experiment or the forward test in order to have the kind of information I need to understand how I react to the trade when I'm losing money. Because I'm not even thinking of it in terms of being right or wrong, in terms did the trade win or not. Being right or wrong to me now is, did I make the decisions that I'm supposed to according to the style of trade and the rules of the trade that I'm trying to execute? And then that's not so much being right or wrong, it's being precise and accurate and correct and proper, as opposed to, I picked the direction right. Well, flip a coin, I would say, the balancing of exploring versus exploiting really is how it always comes down to how we are navigating through the landscape of the trading enterprise or the trading project, trying to cross no man's land with a wagon full of my capital. And I'm trying to grow the capital as I journey and protect the capital against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And one of the things that I have to do is find efficient ways to drive the wagon through that landscape in a way that gets me there. So I've got to exploit the advantages that I have with my team. And at the same time, I've got to explore that landscape with my scouts so I can find things along the way that adds to my capital. I got to add water and food and maybe some gold and hunt for some animals. So I propose to be better at the end of that journey by growing along the way, as opposed to just starting from here and trying to get from there and seeing how much I lose along the way. And there's a certain amount of capital preservation that I got to have. But at the same time, I've got to grow that capital on this journey through no man's land. So in order to do that, it costs me money to explore. I put dollars at risk to go out and see what's there, to see if there's any gold in that mine, if there's any water in that well, if I can grow crops in the soil, if I can endure, raids. So exploring and exploiting, we've got to exist in both of those mental models. In exploiting, I'm trying to maximize the return on a quantifiable edge through best practices at least cost with managed risk. I'm exploiting my edge for production. In exploring, I'm spending the minimum amount of capital, time, money, attention, reputation, focus. I'm spending the minimum amount of capital in order to understand the risks and opportunities of a new area. So we've got to account for both of those. One of the advantages of being in a tribe is that when you got good scouts, let them scout. When you've got good production engineers, let them produce. And do you have to be expert at all of those? Well, you tell me. And if you feel you have to be expert in all of those, why do you feel that way? Are there other ways in which that we could get across no man's land together as a tribe? How do we do that? What are the qualities of a group that you would want to be in when you're making that kind of adventure? So choose your team wisely. What can you do with the energy you feel when you realize you don't have a satisfying answer to a trading question? Let me say that again. You've been asked a trading question. You listen to your own answer in public the best you can. And that feeling about your answer, once you've heard it, generates a feeling. And that feeling has energy. So set aside for the moment, what do you mean by satisfying, and what would it take to be satisfying? Address that at another moment. But what is the name of the feeling? And where does the source of that feeling versus another feeling? Could I have had a different feeling about that answer? Could I have chosen my feeling? Could I think about the feeling and repurpose it? How do I feel about recognizing the feeling? Can I use my mind to shift the direction of the music that has emerged into the direction I want it to go? Can I put the energy of the initial feeling to work through intention? Can I do something with the gift that came to me in the form of energy, regardless of the source? Hey, what if that gift of energy and emotion was just an anonymous gift? Your secret Santa just handed you a great big battery of energy. Is it necessary for you to fully explore and understand where it came from and why and all that other stuff? Or could you just do something with a gift of energy? Hey, Ken, I walked out this morning and somebody put $1,000 of cash in an envelope on my front step and said, do something with this as you see fit. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? Turn it into the cops and have them do forensic evidence to figure out where it came from? And, well, I guess that matters on who your cops are and what you think about them and what you think about the potential of $1,000 in the world that came with no strings attached. Or were there any strings attached? Are the strings that are attached the things that you put on it as you watch yourself deciding what to do with that $1,000 in an envelope? Can you store that energy that comes to you from a feeling, and can you do something with it? I suppose if I found an envelope with money on it, at some point I'd have to be concerned about where it came from and the rightful owner. But when it comes to the feelings that I've been given, I'm already beginning to make an assumption and taking a position about the energy and the feelings that come to me. Since I don't control them, I'm not sure where they come from, except that I get them. Was that feeling a learned response to a certain situation that was installed in me? Or was that the natural consequence of the way my subconscious works over time as it has been randomly trained by the environment? I don't know. Thinking about it. Meanwhile, I got a bundle of energy and I'm going to do something positive with it. Maybe the right thing to do with $1,000 found on your doorstep in an envelope is to give it to duly constituted authority and then be engaged in your community so you get the right people in those positions and do something about that money with accountability so it doesn't go into feed, graft, and corruption, but is so you got to investigate what the tribe does with those kind of found. Anyway, I diverge. What is the source of the energy that comes with the feeling? And is that as important as what do I do with the energy of the feelings when I'm unencumbered by the source? What can I do to disassociate the energy that has arisen with the circumstances that caused it to arise? That's really a strong idea to explore. I'd like you to think about each question, each trading question that comes through these exercises as just a section in your garden for you to grow some crops, or a room in the trading house that you're building in which that has a purpose or whatever. And so every answer is simply you acknowledging where you are in that plot in your garden or in that room in your house. And that's just the work in progress. That's just where I am. That's not where I came from, and it's not where I may end up going, but it is where I am, and that's information that you can act on with courage and conviction and purpose and intention. And that's just another gift in the same way that feelings that you feel as a result of circumstances are simply something for you to do something with or not. Your choice to live an intentional life. And what are you going to do with the information, your answers, and your energy, what was generated by the feelings that you felt? That's for you to decide. That's something you can work with. And by work, I mean moving physical things through time and space to different positions. That's the definition of work. You change the location of things in the universe. Even if that's yourself, moving to a different spot. That is work. And for some of us, you're moving, 100 kilos through time and space. That takes more energy and effort, and that's more work than other things. So how heavy is the weight that you're moving? That's the risk, is the weight of the object in the wagon you are pulling. Can you start with smaller weights? Can you start with baby steps? Can you learn to walk? Yeah, we learn to walk. We're walking. So do something with the information and the energy you've been given. Be grateful for the gifts. Ask for forgiveness and forgive yourself for the work that you're going to attempt to do, and learn from the results of the work that you did. That's all. Doesn't have to be harder than that. I mean, lifting the weight itself is enough. Let that be the thing that you do with the information, the energy, is lifting the weight. Getting stronger in order to lift more weights, or doing projects with the weight that you're lifting that also has a tangible payoff. Lifting the weight makes your body stronger. That's a tangible payoff. Got to do that right, or you hurt yourself by trying to do too much. It took me a year to recover from the idiotic overreach that I did with some weightlifting, because it was more important in my ego to try to do this thing, and it was like, well, that just happened. Could see that coming in retrospect. In 1 second you realize what the next year you're going to be thinking about when you try to do too much. So don't do too much. Doc, it hurts when I do this. So don't do that. Regain the range of motion through therapy and whatnot. So those are the points that I wanted to make. Let me hit the gong, and I'm pretty excited about this little Fathom AI note taker. It looks pretty interesting. I'll share it with you when I get done. It was kind of astonishing. All right, nice work again today. I'm going to hit the gong and move us, to the doorway back into the foyer. So I'm going to ask you to listen to the resonances and feel for the power word that comes to mind. And let me finish up first of all by telling you my one true story from this week. So I gave about a 15-minute discussion to these academics about true storytelling, and I talked about safety, trust, truth, and opportunity, and the reverse engineering. Hey, you want an opportunity to transform the world? Of course you do. But it has to be based on the truth, validated in some way. And before you can get to the truth, you have to trust the people you're working with and yourself to uncover things about the world and to take the risk of trying to discover the truth. You have to do that on trust. That you can investigate dark places but not fall into a pit, and that you can come out of that. And why do you take that risk of, because I'm anchored to a safe space. So the preconditions for opportunity to transform the world, I have to have truth to build on, but I got to have trust first in order to discover the truth, and I have to be anchored in a safe place in order to be able to trust, in order to investigate the truth, in order to find an opportunity, maybe, to transform the world. Everybody wants to change the world. Not many people want to do the work that it takes to plan, prepare, execute, and assess. So I told that little story in an experiential way with people and asked them to listen. I told them at the start of it that at the end of these 15 minutes, I'm going to ask you for one word and invite you to share that if you wish, knowing that we're all interested in what word resonated the most with you, and that it would help us if you gave us that gift. So we gave it a try. We went through the thing, and and they came up with the different one-word responses, much like we're going to do. The next day in our business meeting for the organization on its 50th anniversary, they called up all the old timers, all the ancient fellows who'd been there for 30 years or more, and we're asking them about what they thought about the future for directions of our organization, which grew up in business simulations and digital economic models to help business people understand the world. But we feel like there's a new path ahead. And the guy who's been there the longest, Professor Precha Thavakolwat, said in his quiet way, I believe that the way forward is what Ken taught me yesterday, that the formula was safety, trust, truth, and opportunity, and gave about a 30-second summary of the things that he had learned. And I stood up and said, for the win, from your lips to God's ears. When Precha talks in his quiet way, everybody listens, because that dude is solid. And everybody that was in the smaller session with me kind of looked over at me, gave me a thumbs up. I said, yeah, this is some of that experiential learning of being in the moment and trusting others in public is what it takes, I think, one of the ways in which you build the tribe to help pull that load together. And so I wanted to share that had a really profound effect on that room full of academics from all around the world, and is leading me to establish a project this year for them where I do monthly true story circles and open office hours to check in to help them learn the techniques of true storytelling and creativity within their domain so that they can experience it, write about it, and we pull together a project for next year with some evidence-based work in progress about our organization trying to do good things in the world. I'm very excited about that. That doesn't happen if I don't drive 1,000 miles to Pittsburgh to go have prime rib with Damien and my family and meet my cousin. So when you can multitask like that and start stacking up intentions and bringing things together in time and space, that is efficient exploration. So I said efficiency or exploitation versus exploration. There's an efficient way to do both of those by stacking, and that's part of your plan. And you can prepare to do that stuff, and you can execute it, and then you can assess how to do that. So I'm going to write some notes of what happened on that week, and I'm going to get a ton of leverage out of the one-page set of notes that I write for that. And I've got about 5 or 6 different demographics that I'm already figuring out how I'm going to use that artifact to shape their thoughts about the stories I'm going to tell about that conference. So, wheels within wheels within wheels, you start learning to stack up. That's like taking second and third positions when the thing starts working for you, and when it could have failed and would have reasonably failed, but it didn't, the R10 wiggle and an emerging dragon, that's the next leg. Bam, second position right away. Now, I teach you how to do that. Wait till you have 2R in hand and all that other stuff. But sometimes you see me executing sooner than that. That's why. But that's a power move with a power tool. And be careful with power tools. But that's where that is. That's where that's coming from. Is learning how close to the edge I can safely go. And by safe, I mean that I'm anchored to a safe spot, and that safe spot is an unbreakable tether that is based on position sizing. So even if it's the worst possible outcome, I know exactly how much territory that's going to cause me to lose, or how much weight I'm going to lose from the capital, and it's a acceptable risk. So that's the story I wanted to tell about safety. That's the story I wanted to tell about the safety, trust, truth, and opportunity. And I said it again in that way because I was clicking the bookmark so that it would anchor its synthesis of the last few minutes around that central idea. And because I'm checking out how Fathom does as a note taker. I'm also going to investigate to see if I can have it retro summarize previous audios by simply going into a room, a Zoom room, and then playing the recording as if it was a presentation, and then see if it could, hit that highlight, and automatically generate some effort and intelligent use of AI, which was one of the central themes that we explored in that conference this weekend, which has me very excited. Because I'm going to investigate how to make the best version of me as a teaching assistant by trying to use things like ChatGPT and now perhaps this Fathom to go back through my hundreds of pages of FAQs and hundreds of hours of videos to organize that better than just telling people to go search on their own. I think I can do better than that. And maybe I can make the AI summarize the positions I might take on an answer to a question in a better way than my brain at that moment. Maybe I'm tired or grumpy or frustrated because that's the 15th time I've heard that question. I always work hard on trying to respect each question as the genuine gift in that moment, and I do my best on that, but maybe the AI can do an even better version of that because it doesn't get tired or have personal shortcomings that I have. So I'm going to be investigating AI this year and better coaching and trying to use AI as a model for good. In fact, that's what I told Angus Fletcher, that the $100 million AI project with DARPA that he was working on to come up with a war game to test different AI planning systems was instead to have them design an AI that would help people learn their fastest and bestest all the time as a learning assistant. That was a better use of their money as opposed to coming up with an AI that could assess the enemy and figure out what kind of a plan to have to defeat them. I said, you'd be better off using the AI to help in a planned way to make you better prepared to execute at some moment when you don't have the AI. Because if I rely on the AI for execution, then there may come a time when the enemy is able to strip the AI away. And now I'm frozen because I don't have any onboard skills. So much like a wing tank can extend the range of an aeroplane, I think about an AI learning assistant in that way. But my safety is to be able to rely on my own brain if that's all I'm left with. Hands and feet and all that stuff. So that's sort of my project this year, to think about AI as a learning device, which now has immediate and obvious implications for trading. There's a lot of different ways that we can use AI for that. So that was my work in progress personally from this week, and the powerful story of safety, trust, truth, and opportunity in my view. So I wanted to get that on the record as my contribution. So I'm going to ask you now to think about your power word and realize why that's so darn important, because that's the way we sort of acknowledge where we were and where we are, and that's information to use going forward. You should be grateful for whatever word that is that comes up. Not like saying, God, I wish I could come up with a better word. Really? Really? On Christmas, when your kids give you a gift, you're going to say, I sure wish that you had given me a better gift than that. You know, I really deserve more than that. Really? Is that what we're going to say? No, we're not. you're going to you're going to listen to the word that comes bubbling up as the gift that it actually is, you know, and forgive yourself for the emotion that you'll feel, I guess. Gratitude for the gift, and then an intention to do something with it so that the people may thrive. So here we go, listening for the word. Ernie.
Question.
Junlong.
Hunter.
Damien.
Learning.
Tom Sullivan.
Energy.
Clarity. And there we are, fellas. That wasn't all bad. So when you, if you look inside your Zoom, take a look, see if you have the little toolbar in there called Apps. And on the Apps, you know, folder or whatever, the toolbar, Fathom, Fathom is one of them. There's another one that has an AI note taker that I just noticed later. I'm going to give that a try. I didn't want to have too many things running at once in case it screwed up the recording, but I'm pretty impressed with the summaries of the bookmark. Like one at an hour and 14 minutes, it says Ken talks about executing a power move with a power tool while being anchored to a safe spot based on position sizing. Exactly correct. That's exactly what it is. So that tool has all sorts of power. I'm going to look to see how I can turn that into a real power tool. Oh. Junlong.
You know, can you talk about what kind of trader we should be or I should be? You know, farmer vs a hunter, or you want to catch small, collect nuts, or you know, grow some something. I read that 3 times at least, and today the fourth time you talk about that. And never get a clear understanding what kind of a trader I should be. But today, I think you know, I get a breakthrough about that. I think I want to be a hunter. The reason is in my fantasy imagination world, I always try to think about hunt something, catch something really big. You know, imagine myself to be a hunter, catch something really big. Never think about collect nuts or something like that. So today, you know, I will think about hunter. You know, to be a hunter, I want to trap some big animals. I will explore that idea. You know, what kind of position side I should use. You know, to be where to put my trap. All those kind of thinking I should be explore. You know, in the coming weeks, maybe not 1 week. Just want to see that a big breakthrough. I think if I force myself to become a farmer, it won't be a big success. Oh, just about that. Thank you. I hope.
Yeah, think about the what it means to be low risk hunting big game, like wild boar in Texas. How can I hunt that so that if I don't get him on the first shot, he doesn't get me? Or buffalo, or lion, an elk, or a moose, or a whale. Ooh, you know, oh. Tom.
Yeah, that reminded me of, I mean, when I was a kid, I got a Christmas present that was a pair of socks. And I was like, really? A pair of socks? But as I got older, when my aunt was still alive, I was married. She gave me a pair of socks, and I used to always see her. I'd say, "Oh, I love them socks," and it made her so happy. And so, yeah, it's to take that energy and turn it into something positive is really important. And your explanation of using energy from your feelings and use that energy in the direction you want to go. I think that was aha that is something I need to build on. Aho.
Yeah, I'm looking at this thing. When I came back, I received the books that I had bought just before I went to Pittsburgh, and they're all on this dialectical behavioral therapy, which is a word and storytelling narrative way of helping folks that need certain kinds of help with behaviors. And it helps with PTSD and negative ideations and all that. And it's like, well, you probably don't have to wait for the disaster to start using it. So I'm going to be investigating some of the ideas in it and the techniques as an interested, coach to see what it says about coaching. And it has things like, mindfulness and emotional state management, impulse behavior management, that kind of stuff through the use of language. So I was already a big believer in the power and magic of words anyway, but I see a real strong connection to storytelling because they already are carrying so much emotional energy with us that let's do something with what comes up out of the mind. And I think maybe it was Ernie, I think you and I were having in a previous discussion about you go deep into the mine to work, or however deep the mine is, to do the shoveling. You go to where the work needs to be done and you shovel that into a little mining cart. Then you push that cart up and you dump it. And that's how mountains and pyramids are built. So there's exploring the depths and building towards the heights in a stable way. And that continuous circle, that cycle, is work in progress. It's a combination of deep exploration and climbing to the heights and a rest halt along the way at the base camp, which is the same base camp whether you're going into the mine to work or to farm for vegetables or to climb the mountain. That little base camp is that safe space. The little the dojo, the rest area, the library, the barn, all of those things. Going to where the work is that needs to be done. So,
The AI not taking require a paid plan.
Oh,
Yeah.
in Zoom?
I
Oh,
just
okay.
tried.
Okay. Well, there's one that is a little further down there. It's called Meeting Recaps, Transcripts, and Recording from Read, READ. I don't know if that needs a paid plan either. I haven't explored that one yet, but yeah, I mean, I'm exploring some Chat GPT Generation 4. looks to be pretty powerful. It looks like I think I can upload text documents and have that use that as to create the AI response robot. Instead of relying on Chat GPT from the world, you can build your own knowledge base, I think. So that's the kind of stuff I'm going to be exploring. You know, there's going to be much more to follow on this topic, but Fathom looks pretty interesting, and I'll share with you what it comes up with. Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, further down in collaboration, it has a note taker by Fathom, and it says free. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I'm using here. That's the one that I'm using right now. The Fathom.
Oh, it's not the one. It's the AN. Oh yeah, the free one come out right now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Collaboration. Yeah.
Okay.
Then I saw the other one that was that one may require a pay.
Oh no, it's not supported. It says free, but
highly recommended.
No, the app is free, but you have to pay for the Zoom.
Oh, okay, I see.
Oh.
I see. Well, fellas, I'm gonna give Ernie a chance to chime in yet, and then I've got to check out. We're starting our spring soccer academy now that I'm exhausted from the trip back. I need to get out and move these old bones with the young guys, and get them started here in about an hour or so. Ernie, any final words there?
Well, no, you guys have put me to shame because I'm looking at the apps and I found the Ace Time poker player thing. So,
and a Zoom app for poker playing?
For Texas Hold'em, yeah. It's terrible.
Wow. How about that? I wonder why that's not on mine. Anyway, well, I'm gonna bid you guys all a fond farewell, sayonara, and great work again. We'll get this thing published and posted in the usual way as quickly as we can, and I'll follow up with whatever this Fathom thing does. I'll share it with you. So I'm going to sign out now. Take good care and have a good, safe rest of the day, and enjoy this crazy Final Four. I mean,
yeah.
That is the craziest one ever. That's the way it should be. Nice change.
So, thank you, everyone.
You guys have a wonderful week,
and
we'll see you next week.
Yeah,
Take care.
Guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.